Hey, what is going on, guys? It's Young here, and today I'm back in another Fortnite video. And in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play against better players, or how to play against tryhards, whatever you guys want to call them, here in this video. So also in this video, I have 3 gameplays. They're not really crazy high kill wins, they're just, normal games that I end up getting the win in. So I have 3 games, so it's probably about 30 or 35 kills total. So I had a good amount of kills. So you're going to see a lot of variety when it comes to the gunfights, see how I outplay these players, and also give you guys some tips when it comes to outplaying better players in this game, or outplaying those sweaty players that you run into from time to time. So if you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys do drop a like, helps me out quite a bit. So make sure you guys do drop a like on this video, I greatly appreciate it. So guys, let's get right to the video. Okay, so there's really 2 main types of players in this game when it comes to try-hard type of players. In my opinion, I only see 2 types of players every single time I go into a game in solos. Solos, I feel like it's full of one player specifically, but in duos and squads, in Fortnite in general, there's about 2 types of players that I personally run into every single game, and more often than not, they're the first type. So you have 2 types of players. The first type is going to be the player who is a mechanically good tryhard. This is the tryhard that you run into, the better player that's just cranking 90s. They're the type of player that you would just expect them to sit in creative, 10-15 hours a day, cranking up 90s, doing all sorts of that good stuff. So they're very good at building, they're very good at editing, so all that mechanical type of stuff, they're very good mechanically. So those players you do run into the majority of the time, and those are the players that you run into majority on solos, especially just because in solos there's not really too much you can do, as most of it's just gunfight on gunfight from time to time, maybe a third party here and there, but most of the time, it's 1v1 gunfights, so a lot of it is mechanical based. There's not really too much creativity you can have. Of course, during the fight you can, since it is a 1v1, but most of the time it is going to be very mechanically based. So you got building, editing, and aiming. Yeah, you can throw aiming in there for mechanics. You have building, aiming, and editing. Mostly building and editing. Trust me, a ton of these PC players I run into have the most atrocious aim I've ever seen in my life. Some of their aim is just all like, I'll see players crank up like 10,000 90s and then miss 3 wide open shots on me. Like, I'm telling you guys, those type of players you see building and editing mechanically good, a lot of times, a lot of their shots, sometimes you run into a player who can hit their shots, or maybe they get lucky from time to time, but a lot of them really don't have the best aim, or as good as aim as you would expect from someone building and editing as much as they do. So you have that type of player, and I can teach you exactly how to outplay them. And then the second type of try-hard or better player you can run into is a player who has high IQ, so they're very, very smart. They do smart plays, and this can get into both, it could be building, editing, and shooting, but they do it in a way that is much smarter. They outplay you, and they play against you in a way that usually you can't predict as well, or they do a play that you probably haven't seen too much before, and overall it was just a good play. And so these are the type of 2 players you run into. You have mechanically based, and then you have IQ based, and so those 2 type of players are going to be the majority of times you're running into a tryhard or sweaty player. It's going to be those 2 specifically. I can't really think of too many other ways, because you pretty much have building, editing, and shooting, and then you have, of course, IQ based, how smart the other player is. Because trust me, I've seen so many players who are extremely good at building, extremely good at editing, and are as dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to playing at this game. They do the stupidest plays. Man. You would have thought they played the game for a week. The type of player, the type of IQ that, not of course the building and editing, but as far as their IQ and what they do, it is atrocious. It's one of those things that's just hard to watch. My eyes just start watering, hands start shaking, and it just leaves me like, what are you doing? Type of thing. Like, I run into this type of player all the time. That's pretty much all the players I run into in solos are players who are just utterly trash. When I say trash, they're IQ trash. Mechanically, they're very, very good. So their building, editing is very, very good, but their IQ is just utter terrible. It just makes absolutely no sense. And sometimes, even if you are a smart player, you can still lose to people who are mechanically good. And there is RNG in this game too. So you do have a lot of those things working against you. And so when it comes to countering these two types of players, so first, the mechanically good players, the best way to counter them, of course, if you're talking about someone who has insanely good mechanics and your mechanics are terrible, sometimes and a lot of times you can be losing the fight just because the other guy's mechanics are just far superior to yours. But the best way to counter it, in my opinion, is going to be with IQ, is going to be to outplaying them with something that they've maybe never seen before. Because most things you've probably seen before, you outplay them in a way that most people wouldn't. That you hit them with a really nice play, and you hit them with a play that's very smart. An example of this, and this is something you guys have probably seen pretty recently a lot. And so the example of this is, say you're in a box. You have all your walls around and you want to go for, and someone's right outside your box, maybe trying to get your wall or whatever the case may be. So you back up all the way to the back of your box and you place a ramp. And when you do this, when you're the far back, so you're touching the wall, you place a ramp. What happens is you're phased through the ramp. So if they try to, break in or come inside of your box, you're going to have a wide open shot on them. And if you want to, like I said, you are phased through your ramp. So if you want to close the ramp, all you do is have to jump. And it's just one of those plays that's very smart, catches a ton of people off guard, good or bad players. Because if you see a ramp inside of a box, you're thinking, oh shoot, this guy has a ramp. He's hiding behind it. I got to try to get control of it. So you go inside of the box and the guy just whips out the shotgun, hits you for like 150 damage shot in the head. And it's just one of those plays that's very smart. You have a lot of things that are similar to that you can use to counter these mechanically good players. Because even if the player you're going against is very mechanically good, trust me, you guys are going to catch him off guard time and time again if you constantly have these very smart plays, or just doing the right things in the right moments can also lead to countering these mechanically good players and winning gunfights against these players time and time again. So when it comes to countering and outplaying people who are very smart, this is a little bit more tricky. And the best way you can do this when it comes to outplaying those players who play very smart is you pretty much have to know and stay updated with all the things that really good players do. So one thing this season that a ton of people do is, so if someone's outside of your box, they will mine your wall, edit your wall, place a ramp, and then edit it again. And this thing is the most annoying thing ever. People do it all the time. I don't know if a lot of you guys on console probably don't have to worry about it too much, because it is a lot harder to do on controller very consistently. But for those guys on PC, it happens literally every single game. Someone will take your wall, they edit your wall, place a ramp, and then edit that, and then go for a shot at you inside of your own box very quickly. So something like that, you just have to know what potentially they can do that's a very good play. For instance, like that ramp thing, the best way to counter something like that, someone who's very good doing things like that, is you have to at least know about it. And of course, sometimes you're not going to be able to counter every single thing that they do. But if you're at least very aware of the things that players do that can lead them to have a very smart play on you, then it's going to be much harder for them to pull it off. Because when it comes to these smart plays, I know a lot of them, so it is a lot harder to pull them off on me. Sometimes it still happens because, as you guys know, I'm on controller, so I can't be as fast as possible. Sometimes if I'm trying to pop a mini and the dude comes in my box, I got to press LB like 3 or 4 times, depending on what slot it is, just to get back over to my pump. And sometimes it screws me up because I don't have enough time. So in those instances, it really just is unlucky, the right place at the wrong time. Things like that happen. But when it comes to outplaying these really good players who are smart, and it's pretty easy to identify, you can usually tell within the first 5 seconds of in a gunfight with another player if they are a good player, average player, or if they are a very good player. Sometimes you could be wrong on your judgment, but most of the time you can tell exactly who you're going against as soon as you do get into the gunfight. Within the first 5 seconds at least, should be able to tell exactly who you're going against. So like I said, if you want to be able to outplay those type of players, the best way to outplay them is to know the things that they do and then be able to counter that. Now, there really isn't a best counter for certain moves. It really is down to personal preference, what you think is going to work best. So it's a bunch of trial and error, but you at least have to know exactly what these other players do if you want to be able to counter it. Because if you know exactly what the other player is trying to do on you, it's going to be 10 times easier to counter and use it against them. So always staying up to date with the latest things and always be on the lookout for new things that people do that are going to be very helpful can really help you guys out a lot and allow you to win way more games and outplay sweaty players time and time again. And I hope this video you guys found helpful. But with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys liked it, make sure you guys do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my post notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.